All right, so you ready to move on to Tomb Raider 2?
Heck yeah.
So let's get a quick overview of Tomb Raider 2. What's your overall feeling of it?
Tomb Raider 2. If I had to sum it up in a word, I would say exceptional. But I think you should give the intro for this actually because you're currently let's playing it.
I am.
Yeah, so you should do the intro for Tomb Raider. You should start us off with maybe a little introduction to Tomb Raider and a little bit of the backstory, I guess. I mean, obviously, a lot of people who are listening to this right now, you guys probably know. Um, Even if you haven't played it, you probably know the premise to Tomb Raider. But yeah, we can give a little summary.
Let's see. So Tomb Raider 2 is by far the classiest style of Tomb Raider games there are. Because I mean, you have the Venice section. That is class beyond belief. You get to totally own people in Venice. But my overall feelings for Tomb Raider 2 is that I think it's actually the most difficult Tomb Raider game, to be quite honest. Um, but I really think that the game is exceptionally good at creating a sense of. I think that it's even better at creating a sense of just massive scale than even Tomb Raider 1 was. I think there's more levels per section usually,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it just has a great style. You get to go to more places. Laura actually changes clothes,
Of course, yeah.
and
How many? Actually, you mentioned that. How many times did she do it? Obviously, she's got, just kind of her normal
her basic
everyday outfit,
clothes, and then
wetsuit.
she has the wetsuit, and then she has where she just throws a coat over her clothes,
Pretty much. And
and then she has
that's about it.
the final level. She puts on her like nightgown or something.
Oh yeah, and Home Sweet Home. I was about to say all homes there. No, Home
All
Sweet Home.
homes.
All homes. Yeah, Home Sweet Home. That's when she has that sort of blue
Hmm.
nightgown. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with what you said about Tomb Raider there. Tomb Raider 2 and the level structure and so on. Like you have a lot of levels per section.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously some more than others. But in regards to like sections, we have obviously the first level. You can't really count that as a section. That's just a Great Wall. However, that section does come back later on. So you would count the first level as the last section, technically, wouldn't you? Because
Yeah, I would.
yeah, the
But
last
that
sec.
that
Yeah.
really does help because you get to go full circle. I think that's a really good
Oh yeah,
premise is going full circle and coming back to where you were.
I
With
agree.
obviously what you need to progress in that section.
I agree totally. And obviously, the next section you've got like Venice. Obviously, you've got level Venice, but then you've got the
Yeah,
three
three
levels:
levels of Venice.
Venice, Bertolli's Hideout, and Opera House.
Hmm. Then you've got two levels of the offshore rig,
Yep.
which is where Bartoli's base is basically.
Yeah,
I have no
exactly.
idea where it is, but it's obviously somewhere in the ocean. And then
Somewhere, yeah. I can only really imagine, surely, that I don't know where in the ocean it would be. Actually, it doesn't mention where
no, it
roughly
doesn't.
the Meridiana sank, but surely it can't be too far away from Italy. I don't know. Who
I don't,
knows? It's even in the Mediterranean Sea. I don't even know.
it's somewhere, and then you got the wreck of the Meriadoria, and that's actually one of the longest sections I think.
I
Uh,
agree.
and then you've got Tibet, which I like Tibet, but I think it's terrifying.
That's terrifying for kind of obvious reasons, I suppose.
Yeah, and then you go back to China to finish it up, and I mean, I think that's actually more environments than there were in Tomb Raider 1. Is it?
Yeah, because well, let's sum up. So you've got sort of Italy, Venice area. Then you've got offshore rig. Then you've got the Maria Doria underground area. Then you've got Tibet, and then you have China. So
I'm gonna combine the offshore rig and the Meridian because they're really close to
yeah,
each other. So that's actually one, two, three. There's the same amount. I was thinking differently, but it's the same amount of sections as Tomb Raider 1. But I feel like there's more like there's more depth to each of the sections.
Oh yeah,
Like you
definitely.
feel that when you transverse from one to the other, that you're actually transversing from one to the other. You're not just like in a completely different place.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I had that feeling sometimes in Tomb Raider 1, especially from like Natless Mines to Atlantis. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, you walk into the pyramid, but it's like a completely different place. Oops. And it's just a weird feeling. I think they did a little bit better in Tomb Raider 2, to be honest.
I agree. Um, Favorite section, if you've got one, that is.
Uh, Venice. Definitely
Venice.
Venice. I think that I
Ooh,
like the music in Venice. They have that one really nice piece that plays, and I like using the boat. The boat's fun. They actually added
of
vehicles in Tomb
course,
Raider 2, which is awesome. If a little bit frustrating, of course.
of course, yeah. And do you know what? Like, you were saying like the music in Venice, like the music. I just love when that musical piece that plays in the actual Venice level, and you're just going around killing people. Like I just think it works so well.
Hmm.
You're Lara Croft, you're going about shooting people, and you just have this amazing piece playing in the
Yeah,
background,
it's
and
that's high
it's
class right
funny.
there.
I thought that was really funny. That was one of the funniest moments, if not the funniest moment in the game for me.
Gears of War, you could learn from that. If you put like that kind of pieces to your combat, just like to make fun of it, I would play that the heck out of that section.
Me too.
Anyways, let's go back to
But
Tomb Raider.
yeah, favorite for me, it's got to be China. It just has to be. I mean, I love the first level. I love the Great Wall. Temple of Xi'an. It's creepy as. Oh my god! Don't even get me
Yeah,
started on that.
and it's
Actually,
full of
we'll talk.
traps.
Full of traps, floating islands. It's just a what the fuck level. I don't even know what's going on that level. I mean, I've not really looked up any theories on why that level exists, or if it's really a level, or if Lara's imagining it, or she's on drugs, or there's some, a
Something's
spell.
wrong there.
Bartoli's like cast some sort of spell. Um, who knows? What's your theory on that level? I just think there's some. It's obviously magic in some way, maybe.
Yeah, I think that it is. I think it's just some weird form of magic. I mean, what happens is I mean, the start of the level. There's a cutscene before the level starts where you see Bartoli stab himself. Spoiler alert. I honestly don't care. If you haven't played this game by now, chances are you're never
Yeah,
gonna
no,
play it.
come on.
Chances are you're never playing
1987.
it. So, anyways, you see Bartoli stab himself. He gets carried off by his goons, and it's like through the same door that you enter normally, like you entered through in this the yeah boy. Sorry, I just had a little phone tag.
Are you okay?
That's
Are
my
you
cell
having a
phone.
seizure thinking about it?
Oh my gosh, what is that? I'm not answering it, so they can worry about it later.
Okay, it's
Anyways,
fine.
ignore that. Anyways, you have Bartoli who's dragged off by his goons, and then they just leave through the door that you entered in the first part of China where you come back,
Hmm.
and then it's all different. And it's like, the floating islands. Like, what happened? Maybe China just turned into the floating islands.
I have no idea. Because that's. But I don't get it. Isn't it supposed to be inside the Great Wall? I don't know,
Oh,
because
I
who knows?
I don't think there's a plausible theory here. I think we're just trying to stretch our imagination. It's like Doctor Who; it just exists. Accept
I
it.
think so, yeah. I don't really try to think about it too much, but yeah, it's.
But you
Uh,
obviously
I
enjoyed
like I
China.
like the level. I really enjoy the level, and it is quite challenging as well. And obviously, I really love the last level.
Hmm.
The final boss. That's terrifying, but it's a really really good final boss. It's a really good end
Yeah, it's a lot better
to
than
that
Natla.
section. I know, yeah. I mean, Natla's just not scary, but
All right. Well,
honestly, when you're fighting, the dragon,
hmm.
Christ, it's not even that easy as well. I mean, yeah, it's not too difficult, but it's not even, it does present a little bit of a challenge.
Hmm. Well, let's talk about some of the other enemies while we're on the topic of the final boss. I think that they did really well in keeping the amount of terrifying enemies to the same amount there was in Tomb Raider 1, because you have like the Yetis in Tibet, you have the stones, the statue guys in floating islands, and you've got like the dragon, and as a really great final boss, kind of in comparison to the T-Rex in Tomb Raider 1. There are T-Rexes in Tomb Raider 2, of course, but those don't really make sense.
But that's hilarious, though. I meant to say that actually. Oh my god, yeah. Once one of my friends was over, and she's like a fan of Tomb Raider. We were just talking about it, and I mentioned the T-Rexes and the Great Wall, and she was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You know, the T-Rex that you fight down, you know, in the pit in the Great Wall is optional, but you remember?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "You haven't fought the T-Rex." So like, went down there, we played the game, went down there, and I showed her, right? And she was like really, really scared and paranoid about it. So she fought the first T-Rex. I was like, I didn't like that. But I didn't tell her that there was a second one. And it was so funny because she went obviously to get the secret and then walked out and the second one appears and she's like, I hate you, I hate you. It was so funny. But those two T-Rexes, they're really easy to kill, but then it's very random placement.
It is. But it is really just a callback to Tomb Raider 1.
Yeah, pretty much. I thought it was hilarious, and it is a little bit scary because it's pitch black down there as well. So
I don't think it's quite as scary as the first T-Rex, but again, it was just kind of a throw-in, you know. So I mean, it was really cool to get to fight two T-Rexes in that game.
Yeah.
And I thought that that Tomb Raider 2 did very well at keeping terrifying enemies terrifying. I mean, what was your take on like the Yetis and like the stone statues from Tibet and the floating islands?
Well, the stone statues for one scared me a little bit. I think they're really, really fast and they take a lot of health off as well, which is really annoying. Actually, they're probably more annoying than scary, I have to admit. The Yetis are definitely genuinely scary. Stone statues, I just have to say, are annoying. They take off a lot of health, they're fast, and they're very noisy. Not as noisy as the Yetis, mind you, but I just don't know, I find the Yeti scarier. And what about you?
I think the Yeti is the most terrifying. Only because there's one part in one of the levels where there's like a Yeti in like this dark area. You can't see down there. You could shoot it if you could see it, but it's pitch black. You can't see where it is. You can hear it making noises, and you have to drop down there because that's where the level continues. And when I was a kid, I would get to that part, and I just wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I found the same problem as well.
I mean, it didn't matter how much health I had, how much ammo and med packs I had, I wouldn't go down there. And even now, in order for me to go down there, I had to light like 3 flares, place them down there, and then drop down.
I think that's a technique that I have always used, not in just Tomb Raider 2, but like even later games as well. Just throw a flare down somewhere if you don't trust it.
Yeah, and the Yetis can also like, I think that they have a move where they grab you and they just like chuck you around and then throw you on the ground, which is an instant death.
Yeah,
it's weird because the enemies in Tomb Raider, like the stone statues and the Yetis, they can kill you instantly. They don't
much, yeah.
They take off a ton of health.
Your health, yeah.
They don't really kill you instantly, but the enemies in Tomb Raider 2 generally take off a lot more health than they did in Tomb Raider 1, I think.
Yeah, they do. And remember when the stone statue takes off all your health, then it impales you, remember?
And then just shocks you.
I think that's funny though when that happens. I've had that happen. The stone statue's done that, and then it's thrown me onto the lava, which is pretty hilarious.
And even though the save system is a lot better for the PlayStation 1 version, like you can save wherever, I think the game is genuinely harsher than Tomb Raider 1. There are less med packs, and the enemies in there's a lot more traps, and the enemies do a lot more damage to you. I think that it is. I mean, if you started with Tomb Raider 2, you would find it tricky, I believe. I think that
that's true.
If you have to play like Tomb Raider 1 or an easier Tomb Raider game before you go to this one. And I just think that it's a little bit harder as far as enemies are concerned, especially since, you can't just like hide from enemies anymore. You have to actually you know, do
You really,
gun
yeah, you
combat
have,
with them because most of them are humans.
exactly. You really have to do the grafting, don't you?
Hmm. And I think the enemies are harder in this game, to be quite honest.
They are. I mean, thinking about enemies, obviously, um, enemies as a whole, like in the entire game. Just to mention a few, you have a myriad of enemies compared to the first game. Naturally, of course, there's a lot more in this game, such as Sky. You have Sky in this game now. You can see the sky.
Well, which is just a
Um,
painting, really, but go on.
yeah, but it's the sky. But obviously, you can go from just normal henchmen to sharks and to stone statues. Like, there is a lot of different types of enemies, and yetis, of course. Like, I thought they were really, really creative with the enemies in this game, which is one of the reasons why I love it so much.
Hmm.
And then, of course, you have, like, even, like, spiders. Like, tiny spiders, and then you have, like, a big spider. Like, they really went all out for enemies in this game.
They really did. I mean, there's just a massive amount of different types of enemies in this game, which, I mean, it's nice that there's like almost an even balance of guys with guns and then, the melee combat enemies, which gives you a real, you get to fight, combat, or you get to fight long range and, up close and personal a lot.
Yeah.
You get to go back and forth. Tomb Raider 1 was definitely more melee heavy with the enemies, but you could like stay back and shoot them from afar.
Yeah.
I think that I like getting the chance to do both, but at the same time, I don't like guys with guns. I would
Yeah, me
prefer to
neither.
fight something I can just shoot from above or something that's charging at me than a guy that can shoot me from a mile away.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Especially since some like there's that one type of enemy that you only see a couple of times, but he has like two dual shotguns.
Oh, he is a pain in the ass. You see him first in the Opera House, don't you?
Yeah, I think that you see him once in Home Sweet Home as well.
Home Sweet Home. Yeah.
I
he's a
mean,
pain in the ass in both.
like one shot from him takes off at least a quarter of your health, if not more,
Yeah.
and he can shoot you from pretty much anywhere.
I think he killed me quite a lot in the game, actually, now that
Mhm.
I think about it. I'm
And
pretty
it's
sure
kind
that
of
he
mean
was-
because when you fight him in the Opera House, he's got like two other goons with him and like three Dobermen.
I know.
That's
Extremely
mean.
unfair.
That is mean.
I know, it's totally extremely unfair.
You have to fight him from above in order to at least you have to at least damage him from above before you can even fight him.
Yeah. So, just like we did with Tomb Raider 1, we should, maybe talk about, again, the story as a whole, because I think Tomb Raider 2 has a great story, I love it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really weird because the first time I played Tomb Raider 2, I didn't quite get what the story was about. I knew that there was the dagger because you see it in the opening cutscene. But once you get to like the second cutscene, which is the first in-game cutscene with where the guy attacks you before you can enter the temple.
yeah.
Once that happened, I wasn't really quite sure what was going on. I mean, I knew that Bartolomeo was the bad guy. I knew that I was going after this dagger, but I was confused as to why I was going to all these different areas and gathering pieces
Yeah.
that really didn't help me until much later in the game.
So do you think, I think a lot of people felt like that, to be honest, and I also did feel the same way when I first played Tomb Raider. Why you were going to different locations to, to find several different artifacts before you eventually do find the dagger once more at the very end of the game. Do you want to just maybe kind of give a brief overview, like, chronologically what actually happens in the game and why Lara goes to certain places? Obviously, like, everyone knows that she starts off in the Great Wall. Like, why does she go to Venice, and why does she end up at the offshore rig? Why does she go underwater? Things like that.
Well, she starts off on the Great Wall of China. I'm not quite sure why she's there.
Me neither. She just suddenly gets a helicopter there.
She's
and
just like,
"Oh, kill me."
okay, apparent. I've never been to the Great Wall of China, so let's helicopter my way down there. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you for randomly being there.
But then maybe who knows? That's maybe why she just went there. She was on one of her archaeological visits. You know, who knows? But obviously she finds the laptop and then finds
Like
all the
like in
information.
Tomb Raider 1, I mean, she was like in Calcutta or something like that. But at the same time, I mean, she was just relaxing in a hotel when she's given this assignment. So that makes
Yeah,
sense as to why she goes to these places, and you're going to collect pieces of the Skion. But in Tomb Raider 2, she's just there at the start. She's just there, and you go through the Great Wall of China. The guy attacks you at the very end before you can enter this weird-looking door, and,
yeah,
and he's like, "You can't enter here because you don't have the dagger, or you don't have the thing that you need to get in."
exactly.
And then he claims that he works for Bartoli, and then he kills himself for some reason. That's a weird cult that they're in. I think if you're gonna kill yourself because why did he kill
Well,
himself? I don't remember why.
he revealed information to Lara though. Like Lara was obviously interrogating him for information, but obviously if Bartoli had found out that he'd told Lara information, he would kill him anyway. So he
But
just
if
killed himself.
Laura was gonna kill him, if she was gonna kill him for not telling him information, then why would? I mean, if he was gonna
But
kill
he
himself anyways, why would he give away I don't know. I think that.
Well, he kills him. He kills himself because he told Lara like certain information. I'm
Well,
pretty
yeah,
sure.
but why did he tell that information then? I mean, he was being interrogated, but she wasn't like giving him pain or anything, and he was gonna kill himself if he told information anyways. So
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
then again, it's like it kind of relates to like a classic espionage story. Like a spy gets caught, and then in order in order like not to give any information, or if they do give information, then they just chew on a cyanide pill or something.
So yeah,
Kinda reminds me
he
of
does
that.
that anyways, and then there's like a laptop just sitting there, chilling.
Yeah,
I mean,
a laptop.
I
That
mean,
was
back
funny.
then, I mean, there were portable computers, but the battery life on them was certainly not going to be good enough to just be hanging out
And the Great
in
Wall.
some caves in the Great Wall of China. I'm pretty sure they don't have outlets there,
I thought that was pretty funny.
and it's just sitting there, and it just happens to have the information sitting right there as to where Bartoli is. So Laura looks at that. She types in some things, and she gets the information because she's an amazing hacker with computers in 1997 or 8 or whatever. And then she goes out to Venice, which is my favorite section. And she goes through that. She kills a bunch of guys because they shoot her first, I guess.
Yeah, they do.
I'm gonna assume that's the reason, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense.
Well, they do. They shoot her
It
first.
does bring the question of where all the citizens are in Venice, though.
I know you don't see any. It's just all these henchmen everywhere who just want to kill you.
Yeah, maybe it's like the rundown section, and everyone's been forced to leave or something. Anyways,
Maybe.
yeah, you go through that, then you get to Bartoli's hideout. He's not there, so she just continues on, I guess. Apparently,
And then
she just blows up a place, and then she goes into the opera house, which is confusing as heck. Like, okay,
yeah, oh, that's one of the most confusing levels in the game. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of like move things along a little bit, she kind of obviously doesn't really intend to go to the offshore rig as such. Well, she doesn't really know, I don't think, where she's going to go at that point, because obviously
Yeah.
she boards the plane, but does she know? I don't know if she's aware that where she's going at that point. Is she?
I don't think so. No, I think that she's just there to follow Bartoli.
Pretty much,
She
yeah.
wanted to see where he was going, and then she gets knocked out, of course, and gets taken to the offshore rig. But then she finds out there, what they're after. They're after because of the monk that's out there being interrogated, and the monk tells her
Yeah.
what's, the artifact that's down in the Meridoria, and
I think it's called the Seraph.
the
isn't it?
Seraph, yeah, which a lot of people didn't know this, but because this was a really complex part of the story that they told in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
The monk's father and Bartoli's father had been like kind of fighting each other, and the monk's father basically killed Bartoli and sunk his ship while he was returning with the Seraph, and then now Bartoli is kind of going after it, that was told in about 3 seconds in a very convoluted way. A lot of it is
Yeah.
implied. So you got that, and then Bart didn't know Bartoli's after it. So he's been sending submarines and stuff down to find it. And then Laura just, happens to, catch one and is able to hold her breath all the way to the bottom of the ocean.
Somehow she's like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll hold my breath all the way to the bottom of the ocean, and then I will continue to hold my breath all the way inside the ship's wreckage."
Yeah, I don't think she thought that out quite through. I mean, she's like the luckiest person on Earth.
Well, I don't know how she had the lung capacity. I don't know how she did it.
Yeah.
But then again, sometimes I just think, there's no point in questioning Terminator logic.
Well, the biggest confusion in logic is the fact that there's the entire ship doesn't really have much water in it for being sunk.
Yeah,
And there's
true.
like a huge just underwater cave full of a huge pocket of air, which wouldn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And flamethrower guys, because they're that's the first thing I think about putting people underwater is flamethrowers.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I mean, let's just give them flamethrowers because it's not going to be like a wet, damp environment at
Yeah.
all. But
hard enough time shooting guns down there.
I know.
So anyway, she finds the Seraph down there. She goes to Tibet, I guess, based on the fact that the monk is Tibetan. And she goes to find the monastery. Bartoli is also there, I'm guessing, because of the monk thing. Well, he's not there himself, but his goons are there. And they have like the monk versus guys with machine guns, which turns out pretty well actually if you don't do any fighting, because the monks are pretty strong.
Yeah, they are.
They take a lot of shots, more than Laura even. So I mean, you got that fight. Laura enters the whatever, the tomb that's there or whatever. Finds the final piece that allows her to get into the Temple of Sion.
Yeah.
And then she goes back and she enters it, and she goes into basically hell on drugs.
That's pretty much. Yeah, that's a good summary of what that level is like, to be honest. Hell on drugs.
And she goes through that. Bartoli stabs himself, and then you fight a dragon.
Yeah, which is a good ending. But then again, obviously, after that, you've got Home Sweet Home, which I thought was pretty awesome.
It was pretty awesome, but it's like you already had the climax. It's not going to get much better than fighting a dragon.
I know. Did you not feel like when you go to play Home Sweet Home, it just kind of felt a bit like, are you serious?
You serious?
Like I just went through all that and I just fought a dragon. I've had enough, and it just wants to make you suffer, I think.
Yeah. So I think we talked enough about the story, which it makes sense sometimes and it doesn't make sense other times.
Yep.
So let's move on to what Laura herself is like, since we talked a little bit about... We didn't really talk about Bartoli. Let's talk about Bartoli first, because he's not quite as interesting as Natlin, in my opinion.
No, he's boring. He's really boring.
Yeah, I mean, the most he does is punch a guy.
Yeah,
and then stab
exactly.
himself.
He's not like... I mean, he's evil, but he could have been more evil.
I think
I just thought he was a little boring.
I think that's where Natla really shines for me over Bartoli, is that Bartoli just sends a whole bunch of men at you and hoping that it'll kill you. Natla has 4 guys with her, and she almost succeeds.
Exactly.
Well, she's a demon god, but that really does help too.
That's true.
Bartoli's just some Italian guy.
And then he's just interested in getting the dagger, stabbing himself with it, and becoming a big, mean dragon.
Becoming a dragon. Rawr.
Yeah.
So
in terms of Lara's character development, though, I think that she, when we're talking about in the first game how she comes across a little polite and so on.
A little too polite.
And, yeah, I guess. But the second game, she does get a bit of an attitude, which is awesome. I think she starts to develop a bit more of an attitude.
I think it's nice that, I mean, there is a sense of that she's still a good person, because she talks with the monk, and she doesn't immediately kill the guy that she's interrogating. So I mean, there is a sense that she's transforming from Tomb Raider 1 to Tomb Raider 2. I feel that they kind of started off where she left off in Tomb Raider 1, which is nice. she does get these moments where I think she gets really pissed off when Bartoli just shoots the monk that she's been talking to. Which is a really awesome scene because she just like pulls out both her pistols and just like, yeah.
Exactly, and then just goes to town on them.
Yeah.
But I do think that I do like her personality in Tomb Raider 2 because I think she just starts to toughen up a little bit.
Oh, and her last scene is amazing. Don't you think you've seen enough? Shotgun to the face.
I love that. She gets in the shower. Don't you think you've seen enough? Kaboom!
I mean, after that, I would be pretty pissed off if someone was still watching me.
Exactly, same.
Which is kind of an awesome thing because it's like the developers were like, okay, well, you've been watching Laura the entire time. She's kind of sick of it now.
Exactly.
But the style itself is probably one of my favorites as far as Tomb Raider is concerned. While the game it has like a similar gameplay engine, and you know they don't really add very much. They add a couple of moves, and the textures and graphics are a lot better. But
Yeah.
I think that there's an overall style change that is kind of hard to explain why there's a change.
Yeah.
I mean, it just feels a lot. It's hard to explain. It really is. It feels different from Tomb Raider 1. I mean, you go in less tombs, but you still go in tombs.
Yeah.
You go in more tombs than you do in Tomb Raider 3, that's for sure. But
Oh yeah, that's Tomb Raider. Yeah, Tomb Raider 3.
Well,
Tomb
we'll get to
Raider
that
1
just
doesn't
a
have
few
many.
minutes.
We'll get to that. But Tomb Raider 2, yeah, I have to agree with that point. You know, I'd say Tomb Raider, the first game, that's essentially what it is. It's just all tombs.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, Tomb Raider 2 and 3 and so on, they do start to become a little bit more diverse, which isn't a bad thing, but you do kind of wonder...
No, but it's like,
what-
you have the name Tomb Raider.
Exactly.
So I like the diversity, but I do enjoy that they actually do go back to tombs, because that's really is their foundation for gameplay.
Yeah, I totally
And
agree.
I do enjoy that in Tomb Raider 2 they added the ability to roll underwater and roll in air. That really is helpful.
Very helpful.
And
oh no, wait, she can't crawl in Tomb Raider 2.
no, but it is nice that they increased the speed from Tomb Raider 1 to Tomb Raider 2 for PlayStation versions. She was really slow in Tomb Raider 1, you have to admit.
She was. Oh my god, when you play Tomb Raider 1, it literally feels like you're running in slow motion.
Yeah.
I feel as if she's so slow. Like, if it's like when you have a dream and you're imagining yourself running in the dream, but you're running so slow. That's kind of what it feels like. A little
Yeah,
bit.
but you know, in the PC version, she's moving at the same speed as she is in Tomb Raider 2. But it's nice to see, like, when people LP Tomb Raider 1 and they LP the PlayStation 1 version, just like, oh, come on, move.
Exactly.
And they increased the speed, they increased the graphics a ton. The sound quality, I think I did get a little bit better.
A little bit, but it's not great.
It's not a whole ton better, but it improved a little bit, except for like the roll noise, which is weird as heck. When she rolls, she's like, it's like hitting hard floor.
It always, no matter what, if you're on grass,
Your snow,
anything, it just sounds.
snow. You know, the corpse of a henchman. You roll on them, it's the same hard floor sound.
Oh my god, that's so true.
But the sound's better, almost overall. I think that they did pretty well at incorporating. Well, there wasn't really much voice dialogue besides the cutscenes. There was a couple bits, but I thought that the way that the villains died, it was like a hilarious sound.
Yeah.
Ah!
The way they die is pretty funny, I have to admit.
I mean, I suppose that keeps it from being too serious that you're just killing people, but it's just so hilarious the first time you listen to it.
Speaking of the sounds enemies make, do you remember the very, very first enemy in Tibetan Foothills?
Mm-hmm.
The noise that eagle makes.
Oh, yeah.
It is terrible. It's like... It's like, what? Like, what is wrong with that thing? To be honest, I think it's just that's one of the most hilarious things about the game.
Yeah.
Just the noises that
The
most of
noises
the
are just
enemies make.
hilarious.
They are totally hilarious. Um, but I don't know. Like, I don't really have much else to say about Tomb Raider 2 before we move on. What about yourself?
I think that we should talk a little bit about the change in weapon loadout.
Oh yeah. Good point.
They changed the name of the magnums to the automatic pistols, but they're basically the same thing.
Yeah.
They added the M16, they added the grenade
Yeah.
launcher, the harpoon. What else? I think they added one more, but I can't remember what. Or was that it?
No, wait. They added. Yeah, you're right. They had the M16 harpoon, grenade launcher.
I think that might be it, actually.
Really? I thought there was more than
I
that.
think they only
No.
added 3, but... Uh,
Mm.
I mean, I think that those weapons... I like the M16. I think it added the ability to shoot a lot farther.
Yeah.
The harpoon allowed you to fight underwater. And
Yeah.
the
I
grenade
think that's all the
launcher,
weapons.
allowed you to fight much tougher enemies like the bosses.
I think that's I don't think there's any more weapons than that. That's pretty much it. So obviously you've got a good few more than the
Yeah.
first game. There's a little bit more
And the
diversity.
nice thing is that they're all useful as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally use the automatic pistols and the Uzis a lot for fighting standard enemies. But then I'll use
Oh,
like the
yeah,
M16 when
definitely.
there's a really far away enemy that I don't want to get close to me, like those floating guys and the floating islands. And the harpoons obviously for underwater. And I'll always
Yeah.
use the grenade launcher against bosses.
Me too.
I think
well,
that-
at least the good thing about the statues though is because they take so long to approach you.
Yeah, you can kill them with
I
pistols.
mean, you can shoot them with the pistols, and yeah,
You can,
by
but
the time
I
they
like
get
to be
you-
safe and just take them out. Because by that point in time, you're just like, I got so much ammo left, doesn't even matter. Either that or
true.
you're really screwed. One or the other. But
oh man,
we should talk a little bit about the secret system, how it changed. Obviously, there's now a set limit of 3 secrets per level, and you collect dragons instead of items. You do get items.
You do get items
if you get
yeah.
all 3 secrets.
Yeah.
Uh,
If you get like all 3 of them, then you're eventually rewarded with various different ammunition or sometimes a gun itself.
yeah,
Like even I think even in the first level you get like a lot of grenades.
you get the grenade launcher
You
in the
find
first
out-
level.
You get a grenade launcher even,
Mhm.
which is just wow for the first level.
Yeah. What did you think of the secret system in Tomb Raider 2?
That was okay. Actually, it makes it a lot easier, I think, as opposed to
It does.
finding more than 3 secrets per level.
And it's
Uh,
also 100% obvious that you've gathered a secret because
Exactly.
they're in dragon form. I mean,
Yeah.
even in Tomb Raider 3, I've had sometimes where like the sound glitches out or something, and I don't hear the secret noise. This time, you're 100% sure that you got a secret when you pick up that dragon.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to question
So-
why there's 3 dragons in each level and why they're there, but it's Tomb Raider logic. There can be stuff laying on the ground anywhere.
But I think that was a good system because obviously you can collect a gold dragon, a jade dragon, and a Xela700 silver. I think
Yeah, I call
I
it
think so,
plastic
yeah.
because it looks like plastic to me, but
it's not really silver. It's just stone.
yeah.
It's just a rubbish stone dragon.
hmm So what other abilities did they add in Tomb Raider 2? They added the ability to roll underwater, to roll in air. They added
You can
flares.
also look. You can also look to the side while you run in Tomb Raider 2.
Oh, you can?
And in the PS1 version at least, yeah.
I'll have to try that later.
Yeah, you
They added
definitely can.
flares. They added the ability to climb. They added a lot. They added some new mechanics for traps and stuff,
Yeah.
which
And-
I thought were awesome.
Do you remember? I meant to mention this earlier, but do you remember the trampoline things in
Oh.
Ice Palace?
Those things were evil.
Those were evil. If you jumped on them, which you're not supposed to do, then you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, the first time you see them, I think they're evil, but once you get the hang of them, you know, it's not quite as hard. Uh,
Hmm.
I think that the Temple of Xi'an is probably the most heavy trap level in almost any Tomb Raider game. There are just so many traps in that level.
Agree.
I think that the most awesome part is also in that level because do you remember like where you're running into this room where it's surrounded by lava and there's a giant boulder coming or there's a boulder coming at you, and you just see the camera angle
Oh
of her running.
yes.
I thought that was pretty epic.
I thought that bit was pretty epic as well. And you're right about it being the most trap-ridden level. I'm trying to think of, some of the other traps that were in it. God, there's so many. Like, I would consider like even the lava room to be a trap. I'm sure I
Yeah.
fell in it a couple of times actually.
They also
And
they,
you've got
they added the
trampolines
little
as well.
the swords that could hang on the wall and they would do the they would come out and go back in and slicing. Um, they added some in the monastery level. Like there's a whole bunch of traps which really confused me, but they had, like that whole shaft where there's just like it's all traps,
Hmm.
and they added some of, like the two swinging uh ball like things, and the traps in Tomb Raider 2 they're not quite as challenging as some of the as like maybe Tomb Raider 4, but they certainly are tricky.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Completely
there's a
agree.
lot of really jerkish moments where you go falling into lava if you're not thinking about it.
Which did happen to me quite a lot. But I think the highlight of that particular level, the Temple of Xi'an, is the spider cave, and a lot of people do mention that. Just the spider cave, it's creepy.
It's Shelob's lair.
Yeah, just you got little spiders, and then yeah, you got the bigger spider. Ugh, arachnophobe's nightmare. I'm not an arachnophobe as such, but I still find it scary.
Yeah, I I don't think they're terrifying, but at the same time, if you're not expecting it, then it is pretty creepy.
Yeah, but yeah, overall, I think it's a fantastic game. I would go as far to say that I do like it better than Tomb Raider 1.
Hmm.
I do like Tomb Raider 2 better. I did enjoy it more, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously Tomb Raider 1 is great, but I just liked Tomb Raider 2 that little bit better. I just had more fun playing it, to be honest.
Hmm. As for me, I think I like Tomb Raider 1 better. I did enjoy Tomb Raider 2 a lot, mainly because it's such a nice style. It's hard to explain why, but the style is just it's solid and it feels awesome. It
Awesome.
just feels so awesome the entire time. It's hard to explain why. But I do like Tomb Raider 1 a little bit better, only because I like the environments better, and um, I think I probably like it better than you because I had the PC version, which,
Oh, that's true.
and I mean you have the PC version now too, but you played forever with the PS version, and that can
Exactly.
be a little annoying. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I like Tomb Raider 1 a little bit better than 2. But I did enjoy 2. I think that the enemies are diverse enough to not get too stale. The environments are awesome, and the game's really enjoyable. Um, so was that your final thoughts on Tomb Raider 2?
Yeah, pretty much.